Hey everybody, it's Dr. Magnifico from jaredsvillevet.com. I wanted to go over a couple of things. For those of you that monitor our Facebook page, you saw that there was quite a bit of activity going on over the last couple of weeks, actually like 2 weeks. We were in the middle, kind of in the crosshairs of a really ugly, nasty, slanderous social media campaign led by a family who saw that their dog had been found and brought to us and then came the next morning to claim their dog. So the backstory is it was after 6 o'clock on a weekday, and somebody saw a dog in the middle of the road. They stopped traffic, they went and they picked up the dog, and then they were clients of ours, so they brought it to us. The dog was a small Yorkie. He was less than 10 pounds. He did not look so good, and of course he was found in the middle of the road, so we were very worried about trauma. So she brought him to us. We scanned him for microchip. He did not have a microchip. He did not have any tags or ID on him, and he, just didn't look like he was in the best shape. So the person who found the dog asked if we could keep him overnight because she has 3 large dogs and she was worried about his safety, the dog's safety, if she brought the dog home. We said yes. We always say yes. If you're our client, we will do whatever we can to help you in any kind of pet situation. And we knew that animal control was closed for the night, so he really needed a place to stay, and we had a place to keep him. We then posted on social media that he had been found. We gave a brief description, and the last sentence was that he would be transferred to animal control in the morning. That is the law. That is not what I want to do. That is not what I feel is best in many of the cases of the found animals that we've got, but that is the law. Anytime an animal is found, it needs to be presented to animal control and the shelter, and then the appropriate period of time is given for the owners to come forward, or the pet parents to come forward and pick up their pet. Every pet is scanned for a microchip. If you've got a microchip, it is a really quick, fast, easy way for us to reunite you with your pet. To this day, I give microchips out at cost. I used to give them out for free, and I found the same thing when I gave them out for free as I do for cost. People don't want to microchip their pet. There are some people who have this false idea that somehow the microchip is dangerous, that it emits some signal and it's going to cause cancer. It does not. It is a very safe, passive, tiny grain of rice size chip that goes under the skin between your animal's shoulder blades, and if your pet ever becomes lost, it's the best way for us to reunite you. So I tell people the same thing. I hope you never ever need a microchip, but if you do need it, it will be there, and it may save your pet's life. It may save them from going many days, weeks, months, whatever, and not being able to reunite you with them. So it is something that's very important. I get a fair number of people, a small number of people, who decline the microchip, even when I did it for free. Now, doing it because you're afraid and you don't understand the importance of it, or you don't understand the advantages of it, is one thing, and that's a conversation that you can have with any of your veterinarians at any time. The rest of the people don't want their pet back. It really comes down to that. They don't want their pet back if they get lost. It's overwhelmingly more in cats. They don't want to make an investment. They don't want to put any money into their animal. They're doing what they're required to by law, and that's it. How do I possibly get around that? How do I possibly try to get someone to care more about their pet than that? So I stopped doing it for free because I felt like I cared more about them than they did, and I was doing it at a loss. So now we do it at cost, which is $25. There are lots of places where you can get a cheap, affordable microchip. Call around and ask, and then get your pet microchipped. It would have saved this family a whole lot of grief and strife. Anyway, back to our story. The next day they showed up trying to claim their dog. Unfortunately, we had a number of people on our Facebook post that said that maybe it might be their dog, so we did not know whose dog it was because there was no identifying stuff on the dog. We couldn't match the dog with them via that. They also didn't have any proof of ownership. Any proof of ownership is a picture on your phone. Who does not have a picture of their pet on their phone? I don't know. I have 4,000 probably on my phone. We also tried to get vet records. The pet had not been seen by the veterinarian in over 4 years, so we couldn't get vet records. It then became this very angry, nasty battle between us and them to try to bully and intimidate us to give the pet back. I called the sheriff's department to try to get them to intervene on our behalf, to explain to these people that we were following the letter of the law, which was it was animal control's responsibility to reunite the correct person with the correct pet, not our responsibility. The worst thing that we could do would be to give that pet to the wrong person. I mean, can you imagine if we did that? I mean, that's far worse than the slander and nasty comments that we got on Facebook. So I put a plea out to everybody, kind of explaining our situation and asking them to leave a Google review. And for all of you who did that, I am genuinely grateful. Thank you for supporting us, and thank you for being so kind to us. But this experience has sort of changed the way we do things. Now when someone brings a pet in, I am reluctant to do what I know is in that pet's best interest, which is post their picture, post their information, and put out a social media plea to share their story and their picture so that we can reunite them. We really reunited this family with their dog in less than 2 hours after 8 o'clock on a weeknight. The shelter doesn't do that. The shelter probably can't do that. They don't put out a social media post every time they get a new animal brought in to have it shared the thousands of times that it was shared. So in the end, I'm sitting here feeling like my reluctance to leave my staff at risk from being bullied, intimidated, said nasty things too, and then posted terrible things on social media is that I now follow the letter of the law, which is I can take the animal to keep them overnight and then they get immediately transferred to the shelter. The shelter is not the safest place for a pet, especially a pet who has not been vaccinated, which unfortunately is a lot of pets. But it is a way that we relieve our burden of dealing with nasty, terrible people who are going to be nasty and terrible to you because they don't know where else to be nasty and terrible to. And it also is a way for any pet who's not being treated appropriately to get kind of into the system. So unfortunately, we get these found pets who really look pretty rough and pretty ragged, and it's a way for there to be legal documentation that the pet parents have to follow up with the care that these animals need, and I don't have the authority to do that either. So sometimes I do want to send the pet to the shelter because I want them to start a record, and I want these owners to be held to a higher standard, and the only way that I can do that legally is through the shelter. The unfortunate thing is not everybody's going to go to the shelter and look for their pet, and some of these pets at the end of their hold time become a ward of the state, meaning they become at the discretion of the shelter, and if there is no room at the shelter, and by contract and law, they have to maintain a set amount of room for other surrendered pets or other found pets, then they have to make room. They do their very best to make sure that they are not euthanizing anybody who's adoptable, but at some point they have to pull a number, and if that animal has been there for the required time and is not in good shape and they don't think it's adoptable, they will euthanize. So I am sending animals there to a fate that I have almost no ability to influence, and I have to tell people that that's what's going to happen when they bring the animal there. The good news is if you do find a pet and you do bring it to the shelter, you can leave word with them that you might be a potential adopter. So that is a possibility for you. But we have to follow the letter of the law. And I will probably no longer be putting social media posts up to help those people find their pets faster, because dealing with all of the baloney that I dealt with last week, which was getting a peace order, going to court and having to spend an afternoon in court to discuss everything that happened, is more time than I got. And I'm taking time away from the animals who need me to try to deal with the jerks in society who don't understand the law and just want to take it out on me. And I'm going to protect my staff, and I'm not going to let them. So I'm in this conundrum. What do I do now? Do I just let one bad apple ruin the whole crate, or do I do what I believe is right? I think probably in the end it's going to be a case-by-case basis. If I feel like it's a pet who really needs to be seen and get more assistance from animal control, then they will probably go to the shelter. If I know that it's a pet with a microchip and I know who the owner is, we are absolutely going to do our best to reunite them ASAP, and we are certainly allowed to do that, and we will probably call animal control to come in and kind of act as a liaison on behalf of us and the pet owners, just to kind of protect everybody legally. But henceforth, if there is a post, it is going to say that that pet is going to the animal shelter. It is something that we are required to do by law. There is a copy of that if anybody is interested in it, and we'd be happy to provide it to you. But there's no other way to kind of protect ourselves from the backlash of nastiness that we get when we cannot surrender a pet to someone who says it's mine. I'm first and foremost and always going to look out for the pets, and then secondarily I have to protect my staff, and then after that I have to sort of ask myself these hard questions if I'm doing what's right for everybody involved and making sure that I always put the pets first. So there's my synopsis of the last couple of weeks dealing with the public, and then my plea for people to take good care of your pets, get them routine medical care, keep them vaccinated for the vaccines that are required, like rabies. This dog was not vaccinated, was way overdue. And then keep an ID on them and a microchip, and make sure your microchip is up to date. If you have any questions about this or thoughts or concerns, you can find me at pabli.com or at Jairus Full Vet. Thanks. Take care. Bye.